Hello, IP friends. It's good to be back with another throwback edition of IP series with Rita and Richinda. Now, our case study for today is a rather interesting one. If you are a maker, or you are a creative, or an inventor, or you make things that are considered to be intangible assets, you should take this episode seriously, especially when you decide to gift it out to someone. But before I delve into our story, now, if you haven't listened to my last episode, please, guys, please listen. I beg. Hey Joe, just listen to me. I mean, all I do here is give intellectual property, just spice it up with an African Nigerian narrative so that you enjoy my story more and you get to understand it better. And for my returning listeners, you guys are the best. Shout out to Neme for referring the story to me. And yeah, let's get into our conversation. Now, the intellectual property asset that was in dispute is a kimono, and it was made by Jane Michael Ekannem and was gifted to Laolu Sembanjo. Now, if you're a fashion designer, please take this story very seriously. If you are a friend, like I am your friend, please also take it seriously. But it turned out that Jane had gifted Laolu the kimono, and then she saw that Serena Williams had won it for Essence 2019 September issue. And when they do all this their photo shoot, they kind of list out all the contributors or people that the team basically, and she found out she was neither acknowledged and was not even paid for the kimono, and she got upset. So my first question is now, as a creative or a fashion designer, how would you feel if your work was used for a different purpose other than what it was initially made for? But the fact that you gifted someone something, does that mean that you detect how the person used the gift? And I put up a poll. 65% had said sue the black bastard. 32% said really upset. 3% said shrug it off. 0% said pray for the person. I mean, I thought that as Nigerians we're going to vote, I'm going to pray for the person, but that never happened. Then I asked again, as a creative person or fashion designer, when you give someone an IP, can you sue the person, and is the person authorized to use it for, say, a photo shoot or gift another person? Now, 52% said yes, the person who received the gift can do whatever they want with it. 10% said no. 38% said they would need to get permission from the person who gifted them. Now, Jane at that time has stated that Laolu had made and mass produced the kimono design which she had specially designed and gifted her. So her post reads, haven't you ever wondered why Serena Williams never commented or liked my picture? Let me break it down for you. Or, Laolu is my friend. I gifted him a piece of my creation for free. I would say that was a wrong move. I mean, you can't really predict people. Now, Laolu lies to Essence. That's the Art Essence magazine that we all know, that he made the piece and that it could be mass produced. Now, Serena Williams perhaps knows about the business, and she's like, cool. Unknown to her, that wasn't Laolu. It wasn't Laolu that actually made it, so it wasn't her business. Now, she posted on social media, Laolu gets angry after she posted the design and tried to shut her up. She refused. Laolu gets obsessed, then goes ahead to mass produce it. Kind of reminds me of what's it called now? The downfall yellow bag case, where the guy had tried to get consent to, mass produce the bag and give the girl a certain percentage of the profit. She refused. He went ahead to mass produce it and said to, half the price. Then she goes to say, my friend, on the other hand, contacts as Miss Kudirat. She gives them the pattern and even co-produces with her husband at Ibrahim Woods Official Batch 2. My family, on the other hand, anyways, I'll talk about that in a few minutes. These ones came from they are tasked. Meanwhile, my brother is involved though, and you say I should calm down. Calm down for what? A Northerner will lose a cow and the world will not be at peace if I don't see who is. So I kind of cut that post out. But then again, I asked my readers, do you think Laolu was wrong to have mass produced Jane's kimono? 76% had said yes, 7% said no, 14% said not sure, 3% said indifferent. I would say yes, because I mean, from the moment he conceived the idea to actually mass produce, he should have gotten a license agreement from Jane, and both parties would have won. Jane would have gotten her credit and money, or economic right, or they would have gone into some sort of partnership that eventually become partners. But no one really knows what's going on in Laolu's mind at that time. So I also had the privilege or opportunity of watching Jay's interview with Dotu, where she was like, "Oh, I get more insights." And she says the initial deal was to make the jacket for just Laolu, with no agreed motive and usage policies, only for it to be worn by Serena Williams. So I posted a picture then. You guys can check it out. And she was like, it turns out the label stated a Laolu X Jane Michael kimono with a price tag of $500. At that time, $500 was 183,500. Let me just, how much is $500 to a naira? Let's see, $500 to a naira. Mugbe, today is like 216,185,000 naira. 216,185 naira, Jare. No verse. That's a lot of money, yo. Hey. Anyways, Jane goes ahead to say, oh, just a tag and no mention would have gone a long way to bring more attention to her as a creator. So I guess Jane's main focus was she needed to be acknowledged and not even paid. But I guess paying her off would have also worked, but that never happened. Now, I asked again, do you think Jane should have been tagged to the post? 85% said before encore, yes, of course. Yeah. 4% said no. 0% said why. 12% said indifferent. Why are you guys indifferent? Like, just tell me why. Why are you indifferent? Why are you indifferent about this? I mean, it could happen to anyone. Like someone told me a few weeks ago, Nigeria can just happen to you in form of in any format. And I agree. So yeah, let me just continue. So if I pay for something, say a dress, so I go to Deborah's Grace or Miss K or a Michael Kors store, or I go to Fancy and get a lingerie made by a designer. Do you think I still deserve credit or shout? Do you think the person I bought the brand for needs to be tagged to that post? I don't think so. Like, okay, I go in maybe for influencers who, have to be paid if X number of persons purchase the item because they wore it or they featured it on their post. I mean, that's looking at it from the digital aspect where you have influencers and marketers and all of those things. But if an individual like me just walking to a random boutique or a retail store, fashion retail store, am I supposed to tag them? Not necessarily. I mean, unless maybe I'm thinking of delving into that industry as an influencer. I'm like, okay, let me just do a shout out or tag them and see what happens. I mean, sometimes you tag your designer so that people know, oh, I got this from this person made my dress. But yeah, let's go back to our poll again. 25% said yes, of course. 17% said no. 50% said it's at your discretion. And I do agree. It's really at your discretion. It's not a given. I mean, unless if maybe when you walk in, you see like a post that said, oh, don't forget to tag us when you buy our clothing. And you're like, okay, I'm going to do that. Yeah. And then 8% is like, maybe. Because there's no maybe or no in this one. I feel it's at my discretion. I mean, my phone, my creativity, when I take the picture and I put it out there. I know I also had a conversation about this where Nigerian brand chick was talking about how Instagram sellers repost her pictures with her consent, and then there are disputes around how paparazzi photographers are also suing celebrities for reposting images of themselves. I mean, the whole thing is a mess, and it's really complicated. But yeah, so in the interview she had done with Dotun, I'm sure most of you know Dotun. I think he's doing one of these adverts with Erica for an energy drink. So Jen has stated that if she's going to give you a discount, she will take it into consideration the value you bring to her and give you a discount. I think it's applicable to everyone who is in business, and 89% agreed with Jane's position on that. Jane also stated that if that it's a different thing if she gives you her design. However, if you would be using it for commercial purpose, you need her consent. And I think it's true. Even the law, as our intellectual property law says that if you're going to use someone's work, at least acknowledge the person. If it's for private use, a fair dealing or fair use principle will save you at some point, but not all the points. Consent is very important when dealing with intangible assets. And as a fashion brand, what are the options you have available when it comes to intellectual property? I think I have a couple of posts on fashion and IP for fashion designers, so you guys can just check out other episodes as well. I also have a couple of Twitter mini blog series, but the cases always differ. So when I'm talking about fashion and IP, I also like to fuse in the relevant IP laws. There are available options for you. So in regards to this case in particular, intellectual property doesn't protect an idea, and it's very important that we all know that, because I get questions as to, oh, how can I protect my ideas? Ideas are not protected because we're not seeing any creativity, we're not seeing any invention. IP has an intersection with every industry, no doubt, and it's also very advisable that you document or record your creativity or your inventions just for record purpose, and also to give you an edge in the event of a dispute such as the one between Jane and Laolu. You also need to consider intellectual property mechanisms such as copyright, which protects your illustrations, your sketches, prints, patterns of your work. You also get to enjoy automatic protection the moment your work is in a fixed medium, such as your sketchbook. Now I'm going to cite the laws, or just read section 1 sub 3 of the Nigerian Copyright Act, which I think, like, if you read it, you will understand that Jane never intended for that particular edition. Let's just say it was like a limited edition for just one person. I know how limited editions are. There's always a restricted number, just like the NFTs that we currently have, that you have limited numbers, and then becomes like a scarce commodity and everyone just wants it. So maybe Jane wanted to use Laola as an influencer or something, like, okay, make this one limited order, and then if people love it, I mean, if a friend gives me something and I wear it and people admire it, I'm definitely going to tell my friend that, oh, I wore this out, and everyone was like going crazy about it. So I remember one time I bought a kimono from someone I used to know in school, and people loved it, and I had to like, oh, this kimono is getting lots of feedbacks, people love it. And I think I referred a couple of people to her. I don't know how many reached out to her, but that also happens. I mean, okay, so let's use a more practical example. I have natural hair. Sometimes I style my natural hair and I go and people are like, oh my gosh, what did you do to your hair? But I guess that is different, you get, because it's not the same. So I got a book. I'm going to use another one again. I got a book. So I've had senior colleagues, senior lawyers, who are my friends who have given me books. Now, does that, let's say they are the authors of that book. Let's say an author gives me a book. Do I have the right to go and mass produce, like go and photocopy and resell to a third party and then put my name as the author of that book? That's wrong. That's practically stealing. I mean, I think that's like the best explanation I can give for that. Now I ask again, do you think Jane's unisex kimono would pass as an applied act based on section 1 sub 3? So 5% said yes, 8% said no, 8% again said how, 8% said they are indifferent. And this is because what I asked basically said is that if at the time when the author made the work, did he or she intend that the work in question should be a model that can be used and be multiplied by any industrial process. So you get now trademark protects names, logo, signs, symbols, colors, smell. Yeah, let's just stick to those ones. And in order for you to have a trademark, you must meet the some criteria. First of all is it being distinctive enough, to the point where it becomes like a source identifier for you. People once they see Jane or Laolu, they know, oh, this refers to this person. If they see the color, so for instance, the Christian Louboutin red, so Tiffany blue, Ralph Lauren, Zara. I love Zara, guys. But let's look for Nigerian fashion designers like some Tubo, Matopia. God, what's this guy's name? Maya Atafu. Yeah, the guy that had the coming to America this week. Ugo Moye, and several other fashion designers out there. Their names, their logos, the colors. I know there was this Big Brother, not Big Brother, Big Brother Africa housemate that came out and started making shoes with pink soles. And I was like, oh, this person was inspired by CL, no doubt. But yeah, he used a different color. But then I think as we've progressed and over the years, you see brands are more they're sticking to using, they're being more protective about the color of their brand. So when you're thinking about making logos for your fashion brand, take the colors into consideration. I know we have the Pantone color match or whatever. I mean, there are different shades of red, there are different shades of pink, there are different shades of blue, there are different shades of white, you name it, just pick one and stick with it and build on that. So my logo is red and white. I don't really know the shade of red right now, which is sad, but you shall get my meaning. I mean, when you see the swipe sign, the brand that owns it. So that's what trademark does. However, in the event where your mark in question is not registered, you can still enjoy some level of protection. I mean, you can sue someone for passing off, which is like when someone, falsely represents your brand as their own, which is kind of similar to what Laolu did here, misrepresenting Jane's kimono as his. I mean, going as far as, selling and using it on a well-known athlete and, deceiving Essence. Because Essence really has, they should have done their due diligence to an extent, I think, or that's my opinion. But that's about it, guys. The main purpose of that is you just want to deceive people, deceive potential buyers, derail them, or take them away from Jane, which is, like I said, what's going on here. And as a fashion designer, you can also sue for passing off. To do that, you must meet the following requirement: that the use of your name or your mark, your sign, is going to cause you injury or affect the goodwill of your fashion brand. There's going to be a likelihood of confusion in the minds of the common customer. Now, did people actually ascribe Jane to that kimono? No. So Jane might kind of have an issue there, like proving likelihood of confusion, especially because she only made one. It was just one limited collection. Like, oh, make her just run out for my friend, and that same friend ended up stabbing you at the back. It's like a video I watched a couple of days ago, and it was like one of these live shows between two women, and they agreed, oh, we're going to do this, and the other person, did the opposite, and people were like, fear women. This one is not between a woman and a woman. This is between a guy and a female who are friends. So what does that say about you guys? Tell me. But I digress. But yeah, the third one is that the unregistered mark in question has been consistently used and is distinctive. So one good thing about trademark is that you must consistently use that mark, that logo or symbol that is ascribed to your fashion brands for commercial purpose. Whereby you don't do that. So in Nigeria, the law is if you don't consistently use your trademark for at least 5 years, someone can apply. I can apply it. let's use me now. A third party like me can apply to the registry and say, CEO, this person is not using their trademark, has not used it for the last 2 to 3 years. I've been monitoring them. I am applying that it be invalidated or cancelled or struck off, and then another person can register it. Yeah. But then, what are the available remedies in a passing of action or suits? An injunction, the court will order an injunction that the person stops using the mark for the time duration that the dispute is ongoing. They'll deliver the products, and the court can order that it be destroyed. So I do recall in the what's this case? Bentley Clothing against Bentley Motors. The final decision of the court was that Bentley Motors should destroy all the clothing that had Bentley written on it. Then you have account of profit. How much has Laolu made so far from the pieces he mass produced? Then damages, and then Anton Pillar order, which is like another for inspection or delivering up of the infringing material in the possession or control of the infringer. I'm not calling anybody names, but Laolu, if he was sued, was going to have to give up possession of all the fabrics and clothing he had the kimono he basically had in his collection. And I asked, have you registered your fashion name, logo, symbol, sign, color as a trademark? 71% said no. All people are not still saying no. You've eventually registered your trademark, because, if for anything, I'm sure the pandemic have taught you a lot. With all the cases we've seen within the last 2-3 years in the fashion industry. I know we recently had a car redress case. It was just a cease and desist letter. We don't know how that ended. Yeah. Then there was the one within what's it called now? I'm trying to remember the brand. It will eventually come to me, but it was a UK brand, and she was suing one of these other brands for, I think it was Boohoo. Yeah. Then there's the fast fashion, serial copier, fashion issues. When someone decides to, okay, I'm going to reproduce your kimono, I sell it for $5,000 instead of instead of selling it for like $500, I'll sell it for like $50, make about 100 pieces, sell out in all shapes and sizes, make my cool cash. Yeah. But that's about it for that's not about it for trademark. Don't mind me. Advantages of registering your fashion brand as a trademark: it gives you an upper hand in the event of a dispute. You can enjoy protection in jurisdiction such as Nigeria when you register it in Nigeria, because trademark as an intellectual property form or mechanism is territorial in nature. You can also expand your registration to other jurisdictions. So you want to participate in the Milan Fashion Show, which has just ended. You might consider that, because you don't really know what might happen when you leave Milan. Then also you need to monitor your work. You can also commercialize your work by licensing. So if Laolu had gotten a licensing arrangement, that would have worked. You can also sell it. Jane should have sold that thing. After gifting Laolu, I think the best next thing should have been, I gifted my friend these and I have a couple of pieces. As if Laolu will be like, I wore this and people were going crazy. I should have made money. Then Laolu and Jane would have also collaborated or partnered, because that would have been huge. Once people saw that Serena wore that dress and they're like, who made this? I want one. And that's how celebrity branding is, and that's how celebrities work and use their personality, their image, name, likeness, to like boost the market for you, something like that. You can also create a franchise out of it. Start small, grow big. Helps you differentiate your fashion brand from another when you use the TM. TM basically means unregistered, and then when you use R. So if I see R beside your name, it's like it assumes you've registered, and you should this person is smart. Now, in the event of an infringement, you can brief your intellectual property lawyer or your fashion lawyer. Basically, just have a specialized lawyer on your team, guys, who will issue a cease and desist letter. I know that case I mentioned about, I still can't remember the name of the fashion designer, but she's a black fashion designer in the UK and doing so well. Her pieces are to die for. So she briefed her lawyer, they issued a cease and desist letter. Even the car redress issue, a cease and desist letter was issued. You can also opt to settle out of court by exploring any of the alternative dispute resolution mechanisms such as arbitration or mediation or negotiation or a med-ab like an hybrid mechanism. You can also explore trademark protection for colors. I mentioned the CL red sole stiletto, the Hermes orange bag, the Louis Vuitton brown bag, the Tiffany blue. Recently Christian Dior lost the case to protect his saddle bag as a 3D mark. You guys should check it out because there are a lot of saddle bags going on, and I know Christian Dior was like the initial inventor. So my thought was like, for a brand as big as that, why did they never consider registering it early? Why did they never consider like a multi-layered form of IP protection? So you can look at it from the design right aspect where you're protecting like the visual appearance of your saddle bag. I know, and I think that I've watched the video of how they make the saddle bag. Like, I enjoy watching behind the scene. Kind of like gives me an insight into someone's creativity. Like when I see you at work, like from production stage up until this finished stage when it gets into the market for sale and all of that to your consumers. I'm like, whoa, like how did this person really think about this? The Pantone company, which I mentioned and is known for its proprietary color matching system for each, has chosen the classic blue number 19-405. So you can see that the company that is, like the color matching system also has its own specific color shade, the blue. There's this, I don't know whether to call it a yab or jab, where people are like, ooh, you ladies are always like, give me big brother green, give me onion purple, give me MTN yellow, all of those things. I know. It happens, yeah. So that's about it for trademark, guys. So my siblings are currently watching Big Brother party, and I'm here recording. But next up is design rights. So in the US it's called patent design. I know a couple of people, kind of interchange. They use them simultaneously. Like, okay, they kind of switch it up when they're talking about design right. They're like, oh, patent design. I'm like, it's still design right in Nigeria. Initially I was also confused, but as you keep reading and exploring, you'll be like, so this is it. And I know Diola Sage, when she registered her design right, she put out an intellectual property notice. So it's called an IP notice. Out them like, yo guys, IP notice violation will be prosecuted. And I was like, love it. You know how Diola Sage Ashoke designs are to die for. Her designs are unique, and I talked extensively about that case because someone had come out to see and was kind of making a jest of her move, and I was like, nah. So I think that was when it kind of like encouraged me to start doing more of this IP awareness and advocacy, just using live cases to educate people in Nigeria. And I'm glad that we are seeing more social media call-outs, although I would prefer you guys go to court anyways. But that's about it. So design right protects the three-dimensional features, visual appearance, combination of colors, textile print, shape or two-dimensional features, original ornamentals of your design. So I asked again, do you have a registered design? Sad though, really sad, guys. 65% said no. 25% said yes, which is poor. 13% said they never thought about it. So I hope you're thinking about it. They have patent. Patent basically may not come to your mind immediately because people kind of see patents as an IP mechanism for technical inventions, things that you solve in the society, and you're thinking, okay, in the fashion industry now. What is that thing that I can actually solve by patenting it? But yeah, it protects your invention so far as it provides a new way of doing something and offers a new technical solution to a problem. And by having a patent protection, you could attract business partners or innovators. So, for instance, Novozymes, a Danish biotech company which specializes in enzymes and microorganisms, pioneers the use of enzymes in the treatment of fabric. Innovative, right? Mind blowing. They're not previously involved in the fashion industry. In 1987, the company had developed and patented a technology for the treatment of stonewashed denim jeans. This technology is based on an enzyme called cellulase, which removes some of the indigo dye from the denim so as to give the fabric a worn look. And within 3 years, most of the denim finishing industry was using that cellulase under a license from Novozymes. So you can imagine. And now today, Novozymes technology for improving production methods and fabric finishing has been licensed worldwide. The company holds more than 4,200 active patents. Lots of money for the patent agent, lots of money for the person managing the portfolio, the IP lawyer managing the portfolio for this company. I mean, 4,200 active patents. I mean, I'm really excited about IP in Nigeria because it's still growing. It's still an evolving area, and with time, I believe companies will begin to see the value in intellectual property in all the industries, and everybody will be forced or mandated to have an intellectual property department specifically for managing of their portfolio, for monitoring their IPs, for registration, protection, commercialization, documentation, everything. We gotta do it too. We are going to do it, or we have done it already. They also pursue what is called a proactive licensing strategy, which also maximize royalty revenue from this 4,200 IP assets. Woo! Then you have the famous Zendaya Cinderella dress. If you're a Zendaya fan, please give me a thumbs up in the air. I mean, when you're listening to this anyways. But yeah, in the 2019 Met Gala, I like how we refer to this because it was really impressive. The designer was Tommy Hilfiger. He used the technology hidden behind the skirt to change the color of her dress. Like, that's the picture that I just look at it. I mean, it kind of did like the whole Cinderella story like thing. You know, when the fairy godmother was like, okay, turn around, girl, I'm going to turn you into a princess. And, then there's the behind the scene when Zendaya was like in the studio and she was getting fixed to when the dress started glowing. Oh my gosh. You guys can read up on how that tech was done. Then you have trade secret. Which basically gives you like an edge in the fashion industry. It's more or less like a business model or confidential information that gives you an edge as a fashion designer over your competitors, and it's also known to be relevant in the fashion business. This could range from the list of your key suppliers or buyers, the use of the software tools for fashion design, to logistics management of the entire value chain. For instance, Zara. Oh my god, guys. So Zara uses like a proprietary information technology system to shorten their production cycle. That is the time from identifying a new trend to delivering the finished product. So you see, because Zara is like an international foreign brand, I know abroad they have like 4 seasons. You have the fall, spring, summer, and winter. So you have to just always be ahead. Just figure out the trends, and then how do we produce these? When do we deliver to the consumers? And stuff like that. For a mere 30, the timeline is like 30 days. Most of the competitors take like 4 to 12. So you can see that with tech in fashion, it kind of hastens things for you. Did you also know that an inferior quality or copying or mass production can threaten your business? 100% said yes. Yes, so counterfeit, foreign quality. You just spoil the whole thing. So I'm wrapping up in a couple of minutes. As a fashion designer, you need to take the following seriously. First, you need to take documentation of your conversation seriously. Always talk to your intellectual property lawyer or your fashion your fashion lawyer. I mean, so you're having a conversation with someone, just like, oh, I'm going to look my lawyer in, my lawyer is going to come with me. I know when I did a fashion law masterclass a couple of months ago, it was really exciting because the world is evolving, the industry is evolving right now. Especially now you're seeing like fashion in the metaverse, Web3, NFTs. I mean, follow the Meta Becking bag case. It's gonna it's not just going to make a huge impact in the fashion industry, but it's also going to set a precedent as to what happens when fashion takes place in the metaverse or in the virtual reality space. What are the rights that you as a fashion designer also? Just let us imagine this Jane and Laolu's case now, that the photo shoot was done in the metaverse. Just like we have the Meta Beckins case where Rothschild is like, okay, we're going to sell the NFT version of the Meta Beckin bags, and Hemi's like, oh no, we're not gonna have that. So what would Jane have done in that instance? And our jurisdiction, where we still take a long time to kind of evolve and be abreast with things, how are we going to resolve that? Will the court listen to you? What will the court hold at the end of the day? What's the precedent that's going to be set? So you have to, prepare yourself mentally for those IT related or tech related improvement that may take place within your industry. Have the basic know-how of how intellectual property impacts your brand and your industry. In the event where a dispute arises, basically, do you opt out to settle out of court, or you explore litigation? So opting out of court, like I earlier mentioned, was like mediation, arbitration, the rest of them. Then you're also going to need to start thinking intellectual property. Think IP, think big, and see intellectual property as an investment. Always register your IP, have an aggressive IP monitoring team. Know the value of what you have and set your boundaries. There's no friendship in business. Leave out. I dash you something, you carry and go sell, give another person, make money. Can't even sell past the one way normal for runner. You never call give me commission. You dey mad though. Seriously. But yeah, always have a brand strategy. Your brand strategy can always change. So you see that the world is delving into the metaverse. Do you have like a research and development committee or team on your company? What are you thinking retail wise? What are you thinking in terms of the online marketing space? How are you positioning yourself basically? So I mean, you guys just have to explore your creative side. Don't just wait for a dispute to arise and then cry on social media and wait for social media to help you resolve your dispute. It's not always going to work out in your favor, but you have to mentally prepare yourself. So So we have come to the end of today's episode. Let me know what you guys think about the Laolu and Jane's case. I don't think parties have settled. I mean, the publication at Essence has moved on. Nobody even said anything. There was no like, oh, sorry, we didn't know about this. Nobody talk anything. Everybody will move on. So take your intellectual property seriously. If you're going to gift it to the person, do a deed of gift agreement and state that what it should be put there. It's not like I like agreement. You go give me money, no doubt, but let's just be realistic. You can't really predict human beings. There's no friendship in business. You always have to look at whatever you're doing, your creativity, your invention. Just look at it from the business side. Like, Henry, just design this kimono that I want you to wear at this XY event you're going to be speaking at. I'm like, I love it. And I give it to another thing, like, okay, yeah, or run out for me, mass production. You're going to be very upset. And I do feel for Jane, but pretty sure Jane has learned her lesson. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. What are your thoughts on the case, guys? And yeah, we're counting down to episode 120 more episodes, guys. Super stoked. super excited, and I cannot wait. It's not like I have anything waiting for you guys before people start bossing me. But yeah, shout out to you all for listening to me talk this long, and see you in the next episode.